Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Hope you guys are doing awesome out there.
We sure do.
Again, every video goes up on our Patreon, so you can subscribe to Patreon for notifications and watch from over there. And also, we want to thank everybody that is supporting us over there as Patreons, where you can do so for as little as basically less than 3 cents a day. And then you get the exclusive videos as well.
It definitely is helpful for us too, a lot.
It sure does. So this story scares me more than anything else. Tucker Carlson last night, what was he talking about? It wasn't about elections. It was actually about UFO disclosure and ETs and all that. And, you know, what's going to be truly given to the public when it comes time to really tell the public more of the truth. More. Not all. We don't expect all. We expect more, and it'll always have its twist to it. But, you know, it's interesting to see Tucker being used there in that sense, again, as a little controlled disclosure, always coming out. Got to get you ready. You got to get ready, you know, because it's coming. It's absolutely coming. If people knew what's only just a little while away, it would blow your minds. But how about the people that were living in places like this? This is an ancient Roman town off the Gulf of Naples. These people were above water at one time, and now their town is underwater. It could happen in a blink of an eye. It really could. And I don't want to be doing any fear-mongering, but at the same time, just sharing that when we were looking for our perfect place, for me, my perfect place is right on the water. That's what's in my blood. I just love the water. And, you know, I did enjoy living in Florida. Ideally, you know, if it was other times, might be in Costa Rica, Ecuador, who knows, you know, somewhere in a tropical place right on the water. But the guide said, whatever you do, don't go right on the water. This is what they shared with us. And again, if we look to the past, we can see why. Because these places were above ground, and then they weren't. And that's just a reality. We have seen other redos. Let's eliminate the SET part of it. But there have been many great redos throughout history where civilizations have been redone anew, and just small remnants have made it through these time periods. When you look to the Bimini Road, you could go to the Bahamas and you could snorkel it and see for yourself. You could go down there and feel it. And they're going to tell you, you know, these lines, they might look perfect, but they're not perfect. No, it's just time, erosion. Nothing to see here, folks. Yeah, they've told us that a lot of times. But the reality is, again, this is a clue. It's not deep there where this is. I've been in, well, I don't know technically if it would have been the Gulf or the Caribbean, because it was off the coast of Grand Cayman, and went out to Stingray City, and you go 12 miles by boat offshore, and you jump into water that's 3 to 4 feet deep. And, you know, again, there's artifacts found all over the world of past civilizations. Anywhere you want to look, you could find them. And in fact, if you know, there's a lot of people that go hunting just on Google Earth and can find things. And back in 2017, I remember being on Google Earth and being drawn to this area. As you could see just by looking, a lot of this, here you have islands. My guess is much of this was above the water, and the water has claimed it. We know we're in an interglacial period. There have been times when there's more ice locked up at the poles, and then there's times when there's a lot less. When you zoom into this area, you start noticing this really weird little area here. To me, it looks like a runway made for motherships. What could this possibly be? You know, is this just a glitch on Google Earth? These lines look awful straight. It looks like runways, does it not?
Oh, it's something, I mean, it looks like a little bit different than when you're flying in a plane and you look down on the roads. Uh, there's a lot of spaghetti bowls out there, but these are just a little different. They're not spaghetti bowls, but they're definitely triangles and they're straight. And I'm sure, science has some explanation. Well, we run these things on the bottom of the ocean to test blah, 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 blah. They're going to come up with something.
Yeah, well, to me, it's like somebody has some like triangles, compass square triangle type things, and
Yeah.
they just have a pile of them on top of each other. It's
Perfectly normal.
perfectly normal. Sure, nothing to see here. How about this off the coast of Los Angeles, Santa Monica area? That looks curious. It almost looks like in a pyramidal formation, and people have talked about this. I remember talking about this maybe 6 years ago in videos. This unusual structure that some have said is, it's an entrance into either deep underground military bases or inner Earth. Maybe it's a shortcut to get into, head over towards Agartha and these other civilizations that are legendary. But I think they're absolutely real inside the Earth.
Well, it certainly has very pretty pillars, and I mean, there's room there for something quite large to come in and out.
Yeah, well, the control structure will tell you, and this is in the Huffington Post. This is from 2014. The truth behind the Malibu underwater alien bases. Well, the pictures are a little distorted. Nothing really to see here. It's just a natural formation. This is a link to Jimmy Church in his video on this. Again, fade to black, dark matters radio network. The controllers will tell you can't take these guys seriously. They're just trying to find something to talk about. This is a perfect, normal formation. It's not an alien UFO base. In fact, though, the reality is there's also legends of reptilian bases underneath LA. And there's also then, we have Ridgecrest. We've been in Ridgecrest, and we've seen unusual structures around Ridgecrest. And we were not far from Ridgecrest when the big earthquake came. We felt it. We felt it big time. It shook our RV like crazy. We were camping in the desert not too far away when that 7-point-something hit Ridgecrest. And then, of course, there's a base right there. Do I have Google Earth up? I mean, honestly, so many of these videos, we can go into 2, 3, 4, 5 hour tangents because there's so much that connects. And sometimes when I hear those people that still want to believe in a version of reality where there are no extraterrestrials, there are no nothing but angels and demons and God and us, it just makes me want to just spew out tons of overwhelming facts, because we could go on as long as there's coffee in front of us. We could go on for days and we will not cover even a tiny portion of all the evidence. So again, what we're talking about now with that was off of Santa Monica. As you see, many people are probably familiar with Santa Monica. So when we start driving out into the woods, well, the desert woods, and you're heading out towards Ridgecrest. There's Ridgecrest. You happen to have in this Ridgecrest area a huge military base. There's a huge military base here. Why is that base there? Well, I think it's there, as you see, the Searles Valley, Homewood Canyon. I think it's there because they don't want anybody finding the underground bases that are there, in which U.S. and other soldiers are interacting with non-human beings, greys and reptilians. They're there. You don't have to take my word for it. You could do a little research, and you'll come across some interesting legends, Native American legends, to the fact that that is what's underneath there. And you'll also find that there's been certain times when certain gold prospectors have encountered interesting things in this area. In fact, it was a couple of prospectors fell through into a tunnel, and they found artifacts here also that kind of looked Egyptian. What? Yeah, Egyptian. Now, it's not a stretch to think that you go from here over to the Grand Canyon, and again, there's an area that's blocked off there because people wandered into it, and it had Egyptian and Tibetan artifacts, or what looked to be Egyptian and Tibetan-looking artifacts in the Grand Canyon. And it's blocked off, and you're not allowed to go there. Nobody's allowed to go there, but basically, people that are of top levels. Yeah, so Smithsonian could go there. The military can go there. If you're in some high level secret society, you might be able to work your way in there to take a peek. But of course, the public, oh no, because they gotta keep all this secret. This is overwhelmingly. There's so much evidence that just blows our history away, blows the science away, blows religious paradigms away. And it's fascinating. Honestly, it's fascinating. Here is Pahrump. This was basically a home base for me and Cindy, as we own the patch of land just north of Pahrump, right on the California-Nevada border. We just purchased ourselves for a couple $1,000s a little chunk of sand, and we noticed we had sponges there. We had fossilized clams there. We had giant bones there. We had all sorts of weird things that were right here. The ocean came over here at one point. Ah, yes. History is not what we have been told, guys. Not at all. And we don't have to even just stop there. It's overwhelming. They could keep debunking. Go ahead. Keep debunking, and there's just more places we can look. How about the underwater city of Cuba? Is this the lost, kingdom of Atlantis? Again, Atlantis was a global society. It was a global society. Atlantis was all over. There's not just one little island that sank. Again, if we're listening to the Plato myth, which talks about one little island that sank outside the Pillars of Hercules, that still is coming from the Greeks. That still is coming from ultimately the controllers. And this is, again, it's giving us a little bit, but not giving us the full picture.
Well, when I look into Atlantis and what Plato was talking about is a place that did exist, and it was very highly. There was a lot of technology there. There was a lot of very good technology there, but it wasn't being used properly. But still, Atlantis was a global entity. But that was similar, like Antarctica is very much a base where they use a lot of technology. Atlantis, they had a point there where they used a lot of technology as well. So in that sense, it was similar. But no, I mean, these places are all over the world, and they just keep everything so quiet. I mean, even in the humblest, quietest, supposedly most boring of places, you can find mounds and giant mounds and things that are just spectacular, and you really wouldn't believe it. And I think they kind of enjoy keeping things a secret in that way.
Yeah, and Antarctica, again, there's been so many people. I remember Florida Maki has done a lot talking about pyramids and showing different places on Antarctica that have pyramids too. And yeah, there is more, obviously, way more than meets the eye that's been released to us so far. And, they are always distorting all the truth constantly. So, here off the western coast of Cuba, now there was a land bridge at one point in time. And, there was a major cataclysm that we know of as the Younger Dryas event that really changed everything on the planet. And the land bridge connected Cuba to the Yucatan. So at one point in time, you could travel from Cuba to Mexico over into the U.S. These things were possible. In fact, at one point in time, all these little islands of the Bahamas, a lot of them were connected. Absolutely. We see now the problem that people have with this particular site is that 650 meters below the surface. So, you have about 2,000 feet below the surface these structures that are very pyramidal, and they are obviously manufactured. These are not, no matter how much they want to tell you, these are not naturally occurring structures. They're fascinating, and this is one of the persons, her and her husband, that found these structures like 20 years ago. You can find these structures like this all over the planet in different areas. Our history is nothing like what they've said. Nothing like what they've said. I just so wish we were able to get all the details, and maybe we will at some point in time. Maybe there will be revelations that will give us greater details, or maybe we will be able to read easier and clearer into the etheric ourselves. There is also, this was more recent, this is a 12,000-year-old, perhaps, underwater city with pyramid and energy field right off the coast of Louisiana, not far off New Orleans. And, this is, we shouldn't be surprised about that, because, again, if we're looking and zooming in, here is what we were talking about off the coast of Havana here and Cuba. Just go straight across, and there's pyramids under here, under the water as well. There's probably a lot more. We talk about the old world being Europe, but as Cindy has had this strong feeling lately, there's, I think, a lot more to be uncovered right here in the U.S., proportionately to maybe what we could still uncover over in Europe.
Oh gosh, I feel there's a lot right here in the United States, and they make it seem like a ho-hum type of place. But no, I mean, covered up. So much of our history was like deliberately dumped. Some very beautiful beings lived here, and they really knew the earth to a very high degree. They had tools, they had modalities. All of this has been lost, which is so sad. But there's a lot of mounds, there's a lot of temples that still have not been discovered, and I'm hoping in this lifetime we'll be able to see them. But there's a lot right here in the United States. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this life is over, a lot of that will be uncovered, and people are just going to be floored about what is here. The mountains that are so sacred, and some of the areas that, they look to be a mountain, but they're a covered up temple. There's a lot of that here.
I just feel the urge to just share with you guys this, and this is not really a subject that I was going to go on to here. Do you see this little line here and how this turns? What this is a plume. So these islands, like the Hawaiian Islands, when we look to Hawaii, and we know now, what's building in Hawaii. It's over in this area. It's building out. Here's Pahala. We're building outwards in this direction. This is just a process that's been ongoing for a very long time. And when you follow this process, you look up here, and you see it turns a little bit, and then it turns, and then there's a big turn, and it's going in a totally different direction. What this indicates, because this is again a plume, so what you have is from within the mantle making its way up to the surface is an area in which lava flows. And what this is showing is that the crust of the earth at this point in time shifted. I would say this looks, it's more than 90 degrees. It's probably 100 to 110 degrees. That's a huge shift. So at some point in time, right back here, the entire crust of the planet took a big shift. Oh yeah, now that would have been a big shift. That would have been very much like what we probably see in the movie 2012, where people are heading to the Himalayas because the tsunamis are so big. Yeah, I don't get, and we don't get that it's going to be that bad this time. We don't get that, not in our lifetimes. Not in our lifetimes anyway. And I'm an old guy, so we don't see that happening before, say, 2100 or anything. Now, I know there's a lot of you that believe it is going to happen, and there's those out there that want to be at 7,000 feet or 10,000 feet or even higher because they're afraid of the tsunamis. And while we do think it's dangerous along the coasts, we haven't seen anything remote viewing, and the guides have never said there's going to be that type of event where you literally have the entirety of the globe's water moving in a way that inundates the continents, and to that high degree. We have never gotten that ourselves, and I'm just sharing that.
Right. No, we've never gotten that ourselves. I mean, for us, I think an enormous amount of energy is put out there with these huge catastrophic earth changes that could happen at any moment. And that's just not where we choose to spend our energy. We choose to spend our energy trying to understand the world that we live in now and actually dodging the political system, really. I mean, that's where we find things to be the most disturbing. But, I mean, everyone's different. It's just that kind of a cataclysm. Don't see it in this lifetime. Just, I don't know. I think we need to focus on what's in front of us and understanding the truth of everything that's close to us.
Yeah, there is nothing more dangerous in this world than the actual control system of this world. That's the bottom line. Nothing comes close. The Ouachita National Forest area is very special, and this is something else I wasn't going to originally include, but I just wanted to share this with you. This was a very, very high frequency place with just amazing energies here. There is a massive crystalline deposit here, quartz crystal. It is one of the two largest ones on the planet, and the other one I believe is in Brazil. The reason is because this was a crystalline pyramidal structure that was destroyed by the extraterrestrial controllers when they took over the planet. And they blasted it, and there's remnants of this quartz crystal all the way out into eastern Oklahoma and all the way through here. This is a massive quartz crystalline deposit area and very high frequency area. So, this is one of those blessed areas. Now, interestingly enough, when you come down into Louisiana, you'll find tons of mounds, tons of ancient sites that are reminiscent of Stonehenge, and these sites go back thousands of years. But before we touch on that, going back to where were we here? Malibu, and then we were talking about Cuba, and we were talking about Louisiana. Oh yeah. We've had global civilizations on the planet. They don't want you understanding that these global civilizations were such that you had all sorts of extraterrestrials walking around, coming and going all day long. It was just common knowledge. This is Poverty Point, and this dwarfs Stonehenge. Poverty Point is northeastern Louisiana. And it's structured again to give us a perspective on the seasons. It's also pointing, I believe, in many ways to the Younger Dryas event, and the event that ended up wiping out what was the civilization that reached such heights. Now, when did that happen? If we look back to what science says, that Younger Dryas destruction was about 12,000 years ago, or thereabouts. Yeah, it's hard to say. Somehow it feels like it might have been not that long ago. It feels like it might not have been that long ago. But again, what you see here, they're showing the precession of the equinoxes. They're marking out here the summer and winter solstices. You know, those winter solstices where the elites gather and make their dastardly plans.
There's definitely a lot of that, leaking out more and more and more. But I mean, this stuff is just so fascinating, and there's so many beautiful aspects, and I love how they build everything out of stone. And you know, if you go to the grade school books, I mean, they're going to tell you that everything was moved on these logs, and then things were chiseled out of or carved with hammers and chisels, and it's laughable. I mean, it's so laughable. And if you actually ask someone in mainstream education, like, really, come on, where does this come from? What is this? You're going to get a blank stare. It's not that they don't know. The controllers know. They're just not going to give us the information. It's part of our journey to uncover it, and that's what we're doing with you today.
Ancient Dwarka. Dwarka is a legendary city. Why is it legendary? Because it's the lost city of Krishna. And it also sank under the sea. And Krishna is thought to be the last avatar of Vishnu, the creator. And I think, again, this is where maybe there's misperceptions or distortions, or again, not even that they're misperceptions, but just the way you look at things. We can make similar statements to similar beings. Like Krishna, as we see Krishna, who is Krishna? We see Krishna as an extraterrestrial.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not from this planet. No, he's a being that came here to teach, to be, to enlighten, to bring his vibration and show how to live. You know, what is it like to be a being who can just spread themselves amongst others? What does it look like to be a leader who leads out of love and not fear? These are all the things that he brought. He brought many good, beautiful teachings right along with Yeshua. And it's funny how a lot of times they're depicted together.
Krishna.
Christ, Krishna.
The root is the same. And so, you know, Christ consciousness is really coming from the root of Krishna consciousness, which is coming from a being that's not from here. Now, these are the beings that we would call the Devas, which are the good extraterrestrial beings, the good higher dimensional beings, which came here and taught us in the Golden Age all the mysteries of the universe and how to find our place and be in alignment with the universe and the natural order of things.
Right. And there's many beings, you know, these are a few that are highlighted. And in many circumstances, like with Jesus, Yeshua, their very being has been taken and utilized for a whole nother purpose. Instead of understanding what Yeshua came here to teach and understanding that he's an ascended master, they utilized him for something very, very different. But there were many ascended masters, and there's no ascended masters that would be jealous of another ascended master teaching other people, because they understand they're so far beyond that. I mean, they want to see growth, and they know that what's happening now in the world that we live in the organized religious world, there's a lot of what's the reverse word of growth? Well, not growth.
Yeah, well, entropy and centropy. So, yeah, absolutely. So, you know, these are the benevolent beings that helped and guided us. So why would you do a mantra to Krishna if he's an extraterrestrial? Well, you're dialing the phone. Because we don't need technology. That's another part of the reveal. We don't need technology. I'll share with you guys. We were in the checkout yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And you know, and this recently, maybe 2 days ago in the store, and I noticed somebody came behind me. Cindy's in front of me, and you know, I didn't even look at the person that was behind me. But what came in my mind was the urge to go and tell the person to the left of me that came in behind me, "What a lovely dress you have on." And that's not typically what I would do. But the reason is because, you know, Cindy did make the comment like moments later to the lady and said, I love your dress. And the lady was like, well, I love your pants. And I was actually hearing the conversation before it happened. And this is what's happening in this time. This is why they want you to drink as much fluoridated water as possible. Get those fluoride treatments. You got to calcify that pineal gland. Don't let that sun come through, because we can't have you waking up and reading our thoughts, or you'd know that we're lying to you.
It was really cute. Mike was busy, helping the lady with groceries and doing what she does, weighing everything. But I looked at her dress and I'm just thinking, gosh, she has the cutest dress. And I just loved it. But I'm thinking, I'm not going to tell her because I'm just too shy. And she looks up to me. She's like, where did you get those pants? And I said, where did you get that dress? It was like a girl moment. It was super cute. And then he heard it. He heard the conversation. So that was really cute. The other thing about that, she said they were going to have a otherworldly event at their church. And that's why, because she liked my pants because they had a sun and stars and moon and they were all, starry like, and she wanted to wear something like that. And I thought, boy, that's curious. They're letting that leak into the mainstream religions. Curious.
Yeah, I think there's expansion going on. People are waking up, and we're going to start to move past the dogma. The dogma won't be there for those that are free and stay outside of the South cities. You won't have any dogma. It's going to just dissolve away. We're going to see that it's all been just part of the control structure. But the mythical underwater city of Dwarka is real, and this article is listing it as 9,500 years old. It's interesting, trying to pick that time, because, again, as we've said many times, the Kali Yuga, according to Sri Yugotswar, started pretty much, and others too believe that it started when Krishna left, and they put the date of Krishna leaving as about 3106, 3102, somewhere in that range BC. Again, our current calendars have changed. We understand that the Julian Gregorian switch that happened, and we can only speculate whether there's been many other calendar changes in the middle too. And how far ago was all this? We really don't know is the bottom line. But that's when the Kali Yuga started, the Dark Age. And it started really when we dropped to a low enough point that the real benevolent beings couldn't manifest in front of us anymore in that type of tangible way. As we had dropped down in frequency because of the cycle of the yugas and because of the dark controllers as well. And so they took over, they rewrote history. And instead of sharing with us that, the creator's inside you, source is inside you, God's inside you, you are your temple. No, the ones that took over, well, they had us worship them. They had us give all our power away to them, and they've been taking our power away from us ever since. But this was found. The relics of this is right off Gujarat's west coast, and it literally means, the name of the city means gateway to heaven. And, there's another tell there. Why? Because it's from the heavens where these benevolent beings came. And then at a later time, as we headed in towards the Dark Age, that's where the Dark Ones came from as well. So, it's fascinating to see this. Marine scientists say archaeological remains discovered 120 feet underwater in the Gulf of Cambay off the western coast of India could be over 9,000 years old. It's believed to predate the oldest known remains in the subcontinent by more than 5,000 years. Carbon dating on debris recovered from the site, including construction material, pottery, sections of walls, beads, sculpture, human bones, and teeth, put it at nearly 9,500 years old, making it older than the Sumerian civilization by thousands of years, which is to be expected. It is older than the ancient Harappan culture. And what's interesting, when we go into Mohenjo-Daro and the Harappan culture, we find that these people were so peaceful. They didn't have armament centers. They had no military. And when we go farther back in time, we see that people live very, very differently. There was a trusting between people. There didn't seem to be the same sort of constant warfare. There wasn't, even the robbing and the thieving. It seemed to be a totally different, peaceful society that was used to living that way. And again, in one of the recent books I was just finishing up on Sumerian civilization, it was interesting to note that scholar was saying there is this switch, again, about 3000 BC, where all of a sudden there's people being worshipped as living gods and as actual kings. And you have centralized power, you have this military mindset, and all of a sudden everybody's being herded into city-states behind walls where they weren't used to living that way before. They were used to living more in an open society where they didn't have the fear. But all of a sudden there's this fear and walls going up and everything changed. And it was right when these beings that in the ancient Hindu tradition we would call the Asuras, it's when the Asuras came. So, again, here is more evidence. City was well planned, extremely well planned, divided into 6 sectors, which were in turn divided into residential and commercial areas. I mean, beautiful gardens and all. This is the area that we're talking about right here. And in times past, it wasn't so desert-like in Saudi Arabia and as we see through the Levant. And Egypt, much more lush, different, totally different. We went through indescribable cataclysm somewhere in our not too distant past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much that's been done that they do keep from us. And, I think it's fun. Part of our journey here is to open it up and discover it and not allow yourself to get roped into the control grid that they've placed. And it's up to us. Everyone creates their own surroundings, and that's such a huge true statement. Our ability to awaken ourselves and use our manifestation to create those things that we want to be close to us. We all have an individual journey.
And this is Ram Setu. This is a bridge that has been renamed Adam's Bridge. As you see, this particular one saying a 1.7 million year old man-made bridge. Well, the legends of Rama predate the legends of Krishna, as Rama was thought to be an earlier avatar of Vishnu. Again, I think when they're saying that, what they're really saying is that these beings understand the original intention of creation. They understand the creator's intention and how things were supposed to be. As you see this bridge between India and Sri Lanka, and in the ancient days it was just known as Lanka. And it was said to be created by an army of ape men. It could be Bigfoot type beings in order to rescue Sita and Sita is thought to be an incarnation of Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance, from a demonic type of being, again, the Asuras, that came and kidnapped her. So again, you can see, science can see the evidence. The evidence is right there. It's underwater right now, but it didn't go underwater till maybe less than 1,000 years ago. I was above water and supposedly made by an army of big feet. We kid you not. We kid you not. And this was from Stargazer's Nation. This was the inspiration for this entire video, actually. It just triggered all this as I was thinking, this is a great thing for us to share again. So, as always, guys, we appreciate your support on Patreon. We appreciate you watching us wherever you're watching us at. Rumble was down, just for an FYI. So there was like a video or two that didn't get up to Rumble. And then we had problems with Brightian, as we often have problems with Brightian. For some reason, it won't let me put any links in Brightian. So if you're able to, come and join us over on Patreon. Sign up for notifications. You can watch all the videos from there. And we do appreciate your support. Look forward to the comments. Much love. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.